The king's Indian defense is a very good opening in crushing the move pawn to d4. Now over here, suppose your opponent tries c4, beginning with a 4 pawn attack, which you can observe. You can play the king's Indian defense to destroy this 4 pawn attack. And in this video, I'll also show you how you can play the king's Indian against the London system. So against the London also and against the 4 pawn attack. Today I'll share you some traps and strategies in that. Well, so number one is 4 pawn attack. So after playing the 4 pawn attack, you reach this position. And the most important thing is to remind that you have to play d6 as a very important move. In this position, before you play this, you have to move this d6. Otherwise, if you play e4 and you are not playing d6 and castling, he can go on with e5, where if you try knight x5, then he can play this and trap your knight. Otherwise you have to move the knight back. So you'll observe that all your pieces are at the back rank, which means it is going to be a disadvantage. So always remember to play d6, and when your opponent play f4, you just castle, he'll develop his knight, and that's the best move. What you can do is continue with striking the center. Now this was just an example. Like you can play c5, you can even go with e5. Else you can play knight on a6. What I suggest is you can, if you are concerned about e5, then first of all you must develop the knight and then you can play e5. Otherwise, e5 will be one of the attacking variations. Basically, if you want to attack towards your opponent's territory, you'll go with e5. And if you want to play some defensive game, so go on with c5. So today, in this part, I'll show you the defensive way, and later on, I'll show you that attacking way also. And then I'll tell you about the London also. Anyway, so with this, now your opponent is having two variations. Either he take it or he push it, and that's up to him what he wants to go with. So number one is if he play d5. If he is playing d5, then just destroy this position. You will play e6 and you have to attack it. And it does not matter whatever he played. Okay, you have to take this in the next move. Now over here you can expect your opponent to play bishop e2. Like he'll just develop his pieces so that he could castle. You will simply take it. You don't have to think for a while. You have to capture the pawn. That's it. Now there are some players who take this pawn. So if you take then from what you must play over here. So you must not take back from the bishop. Instead, you must take from the pawn. If you play bishop take on it, he may go on with f5. Okay. Now you might say that f5 take, bishop is winning the pawn, right? So still you can observe that the king side becomes weaker, and at the same time, maybe it's possible that he don't play this. Instead, he first played bishop d3 and then go with this with extra support. Okay, so it's always advised that you go with F take on it so that you could even push it further and try to attack the center and all. Okay, so this is how you play against this line. Now, if your opponent is developing his bishops, means he is preparing for castling and all, you will take the pawn, he'll castle as usual. Oh, sorry, he has to take it. Now, first of all, if we take it from the e pawn, then what is happening? So you can easily observe the threat. Like after he takes, this means that he is creating support towards the center and blocking these two pawns from being pushed further. Right? You can play rook e8 and try creating pins, but that is not going to be a lot helpful. You can just keep it as a second hand option, playing rook e8. Otherwise, the best ever move is bishop f5. And there is a trap in this. Basically, what you are doing is developing your bishop in this diagonal. Generally, you control all the squares where suppose queen cannot come to c2 and all. Rook cannot come to b1 for pushing his pawn forward. Okay, so these are all the advantages of playing this. Now you can expect your opponent to remove this. If you play bishop d3, then what you have to do? So you can simply continue with rook e8 check. Ultimately, your opponent move the bishop back or he try to move the king. Right? Advantage is yours because you have more piece activity. Now let's take it back, and over here the trap line is he play knight f4. His idea is that he is trying to attack your bishop. Generally, you can observe that your bishop is a very powerful and active bishop trying to attack, invade towards your opponent's territory. So white can try to attack this bishop with the move knight h4. Now how can you block this? So the reason is very simple. You sacrifice your knight. Now you might say that you are allowing your opponent to take the bishop and you are just sacrificing the knight for a pawn. Well, so if your opponent is going to capture it, then queen take on the knight, and that's a very easy win for you. Your opponent may place g3 and all. You can play queen x3, control this, and so on. Your opponent cannot castle, and obviously you are controlling this diagonal. So if you try to long castle also, you can simply eliminate your opponent. Like you can observe this bishop diagonal also. So you are easily winning this game. Okay, now let's take it back. And if your opponent takes this bishop, then what you have to do? So if your opponent take it, then you can observe knight take on c3. After pawn take, bishop take, give a check and win the rook. Your opponent play bishop d2. Now what you have to do? So bishop take on a1, queen take on a1, and that's a quite easy thing. Otherwise, you may try knight h6 check first. After you move the king, you may go with queen take on a1 check. King take it, he can push the pawn forward, give a lot of checks and easily win this game. So that's the correct variation. So don't capture this rook, otherwise he'll play knight on x6 check. And the best move is bishop take on this, queen take it, then you take the knight. So that's the easy win for you. Now let us go backwards. This is how you play in this variation. If your opponent take back from the c pawn, then what you do? So what you'll do is you'll play rook e8 and you'll attack this pawn. Your opponent may try to protect this pawn. If you try bishop d3, then what you can do is sacrificing this pawn. If you take it, then you can go with knight take on e4. After you take, rook take, you attack this, attack the bishop moves backwards, and that's looking quite good position for you. You can play queen p6 controlling this. Your opponent can of course not castle, and that's a quite good thing for you. Now let's take it back, and if your opponent ignores and simply move the bishop backwards, then what you do? So once again the matter is simple. You will play queen p6, denying your opponent's right to castle, and otherwise you can play bishop f5. Now your opponent cannot take it because that's a pin. So if he'll take, then that will be an illegal move. So knight take on it, bishop take, and rook take. Ultimately, you will win the pawn at the center. So that will be a quite good advantage. If your opponent try to push it forward, then you may simply take, or you may go with bishop take c2. That's up to you. I'll say bishop take c2. He'll take it. You may take this pawn. If we take it, then knight take on d5. Okay, so this is how you continue and win this game. Now let us go backwards. Hmm. He take from this, you play rook e8, and he push this pawn forward. If he push it, what you'll do is simply capture. Now what can you expect? Your opponent will also take and try to attack this. Knight cannot take it because the queen and the knight both are protecting it. So what you'll do? So you may simply move the knight to g4, joining the rook, bishop, and the knight on attacking the e5 pawn. You can expect your opponent to push the pawn forward, and that's the best move in this position. Otherwise, if we try any move, suppose bishop to f4, as an example, if we try this, you may simply go with knight take on e5, because after knight take, bishop take, and rook take. Ultimately, this will be a very good trade, and at the same time, obviously, you are getting a pawn at the center, so that will be a very good fact, a very good point for you. Now, if your opponent push it, you will take it. Now, if your opponent tries to take it, then that's a big blunder. Because you can go with queen take d1 check and just create trades, bishop take or knight take. It does not matter for you. What you are going to do is bishop take on e6 and continue. Otherwise, your opponent push the pawn forward, and that's the best move. What you may do is play bishop to d7, blocking the pawn from being pushed. Play knight c6, develop your pieces, and continue your game. So let's go back, and this is how you play the king's Indian defense against the 4-pawn attack. Over here, I forgot to tell you about e5. one of the attacking ways. So if you are an attacking player, then I suggest you play e5. But before that, you must play knight a6. Now I'll show you the reason. Anyway, so first of all, we'll play e5. If your opponent take from the f pawn, you will take it back. You might say that the pawn cannot take it because queen take on the queen, right? If your opponent take back from the knight, then what you gonna do? So that's still simple for you. You can play rook e8, creating this. Whatever your opponent plays, suppose he try bishop f4 trying to defend, you may go on with c5. If we take it, then you can observe that this is open file for you. You can play queen a5, creating pin, so that knight take on the pawn is possible. And at the same time, if we try dares to move the knight, then you may simply go with rook take on e4, winning the bishop. Okay, so bishop goes back, rook take on it. Now knight cannot take it, cause queen is giving check. I mean, sir, queen is creating pin. Okay, that's the main reason. So if your opponent pushed the pawn forward, you will go with c6 and attack the center. Generally, if your opponent captures this, then that's good for you because you can simply trade. After knight takes, you can take the pawn. If we take it, bishop take, and you open the bishop. So that's a very easy win for you. Now we go backwards, and you can expect your opponent to play some developing moves like bishop g5. Okay, one more important thing. You may observe this free pawn. Well, say if we take it, you play rook e8, create a pin, and that's the same story as I discussed. Now bishop g5, what you will do against this? So over here, what you may do is play queen to b6. Once again, this and attacking. Then you will go with knight e7, knight to c5, capture this pawn, try to open up your bishop. That's how you will play this game. So let us go backwards. If your opponent take from the d pawn, well, so let me tell you, if you take from the f pawn or d pawn, both are best moves. There is no doubt in that. Anyway, so if we take it, you will take it back. You can expect your opponent to trade. If we trade, then that's good because you'll get an open fight. Now your opponent take this pawn. Then what you do? So if your opponent take this pawn, you may move the knight backwards, develop this knight, and attack this. So does this. Right now these two pieces are attacking. Your opponent will try knight e5 for attacking this. Now this can be for sure played move. He can play this. Anyway, so what you can do is go on with knight to a6, defending it, obviously. Then you will play c6. Eliminate this. I mean, try to just force this knight go backwards. And then focus on knight take on e5. Okay, so this is how you play this variation. If your opponent take back from the knight, then what you have to do is, if we take from the knight, you can continue with knight a6 once again. Like you have to block knight e5 and all. You can play knight a6, play knight c5, capture this pawn. So that's how you play. You can even play rook e8 and just try to attack this knight along with the pawn with the help of the pin. Anyway, so let's come to the London system on how you can play the King's Indian against the London. So your opponent play bishop f4. What you have to do is continue with g6. Your opponent develop this knight. You will play bishop g7, e3. Now you just castle over here. If your opponent develop his knight, now there's a trap. Now you have to remember these lines. Okay, if we play this, you may move the knight to h5 and attack the bishop. This is the correct move. You have to learn this. If your opponent moves bishop to g5, because he is always in a fear that he'll play bishop backward and he is going to get that bishop. Okay, white is always having this fear that he'll lose that bishop. So always take advantage. It does not matter that he is gaining an open file for that because he cannot do anything of that. You may continue with c5. If your opponent take it, you can open up your bishop and that's a very good point. Your opponent cannot do a lot with the help of this open file. You can play x6, king x7 and that's a solid position you are having. Okay. Now, suppose your opponent plays c3. Then you can still play knight h5. Otherwise, I'll say d6, blocking this way. So your opponent will feel like that the bishop is kind of useless there. Okay. That's the power of King's Indian. Anyway, so your opponent play x3. Now he is fearing knight x5 so that he can now play bishop x2. That's why he is playing x3. Then what you'll do? Simply develop. Now if I say develop, means taking this knight back. Yes, the main idea is striking the center, e5. You can even play knight c6 along with rook e8 just for striking the center. Suppose I'll show you with this knight to d2. If we play this, then he is just going to lose the pawn at the center. If your opponent take, you'll take it back, and then he has to move the bishop backwards. Now what you can do? Okay, f5. So f5 is not at all the correct move, because after this move you'll allow your opponent to give this check. Ultimately he'll develop his bishop. So always remember, think thrice before moving any pawns which are protecting your king. So never choose to push the pawns like that until and unless there is a very good plan behind that. Anyway, so what you'll do is, in if I would be playing, then I will play king h8. The idea is to block this check and all, and then go on with this. Now what you can do is playing queen e7. Development, protection. Actually, protecting is very important. Play rook to d8 and try to create a pin along with knight c5 and e4. That's a very good plan for you. And this is how you can play the King's Indian against the London. So let us take it backwards and let's come to the main line. After this move, your opponent play bishop e2. Now what you'll do is playing d6 so that you can play c5. Okay, your opponent play x3 or c3, whatever. What you may do is play c5 as I told, attacking the center. Earlier I told you about taking this knight back and striking the center with e5. This time I am showing you a defensive manner, c5. If we take it, what we have to do is, now this is the most common doubt, capturing this back. Well, so capturing it back is not correct. If you are really concerned about capturing this, then play queen a5 check and just take it back. But I am showing you the correct way, so just follow that. Knight e4, you will attack this, opening the bishop. If your opponent take it, bishop take on p2 and you win the row. So that will be a very easy win for you. Otherwise, your opponent tries c3 like trying to be a protective kitty. You may simply go on with knight take on c5 followed by e5, e4, attacking the knight, and that's going to be a very good position for you. So this is how you play the King's Indian against the London and the 4-pawn attack. If you enjoyed the video, do like the video and thanks for watching.